We'll be exploring a lot of the themes of change, including some really practical insights for things that you can do to help you manage change.
I'm trying to write a how-to manual.
Yeah,
and so you have to be able to turn to the right page and go, right, oh, what does it say there? Let me try that and put it into practice. It's not a theoretical book. If you go to your executive and you say to them, this doesn't make sense, blah, 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 and you scare them, they'll go down the old amygdala route, crocodile brain will kick in, and you'll get kicking.
Yeah.
Okay, but if you go down another route, which is to get them to start to think and answer questions, as their brain starts to form the questions, they'll start to fall in love with the latest idea they've had, and it almost overruns the ones they've had before. So one of the tools I use is called Issue Data Question Build, IDQB. That's the one I would recommend here. Time for a story? Yes, quick story. So the most famous use of that particular tool was I worked with the nuclear industry when they were being privatized, and the chief executive was a chap called Bob Hawley, and we were looking at how we were going to change the nature of the nuclear industry, and it was going to be massive because they had tons of researchers and research programs, and basically the nuclear industry was there to make stuff for weapons to blow things up, not to make electricity. Everything had to change. So it was going to be massive redundancies. How do you do this? We set up a communication process so nobody would be surprised, so you could get a message from the top to the bottom of the organization in a day. And then we invited them to the first meeting, and guess what we told them? We told them only things they already knew. You're going to be privatized. Have you heard about that? And they all left the meeting going, we knew all that, but we'd raised the issue. Mm-hmm. And we done it without surprising them, so their brains are still on. Okay. Second meeting, we brought them in, and we just gave them facts. We've got 6,000 research programs, 12 power stations. We only produce 20% of the time. We just gave them data. Now you might ask, why are you bothering to give them data? As they did, oh, that was interesting, but I don't know why we need to know that. Because by the time you ask the question, if they don't have the data, they'll come up with the wrong answers because they just don't know. And then you have to fight them because they got the wrong answers. But we give them all the data of the situation. Then the third session, we started asking questions. What should we do as an executive? What's the future of research? How should we work this? How are we going to make... And people were starting to think using the data they had, brain still on, starting to, and so we got halfway down the organization. The union rep knocked on the CEO's door and said, I've been sitting through this. There's some big changes coming. You must look after my members. And Bob Hawley was perfect. He said, well, what should we do? He used a question. So he said, well, we've got to make sure they're skilled for future jobs. He listed all the things he wanted. And so he said, great. So they made a deal. And the deal was the faster you worked your way out of a job, the bigger the bag of money you got. And you got trained to do it. And if you train somebody else to stay, you got a multiplier. So so that whole process meant people were working overtime to make themselves redundant faster.
Yeah,
Turkey's voting for an early Christmas.
Absolutely.
IDQB, issue data question, build solution together.
Brilliant. So that's a tool there directly for that person to use.
Yep.
And importantly, it's a reminder about that need to engage, truly engage, not follow a tick box, but actually asking questions so that people can own their own destiny.
Correct.
Almost they think they got,
and
they
don't be
created
sneaky.
the idea.
Don't be sneaky asking questions trying to get your own way.
No.
Because also often, when you ask the question, they'll come up with the solution which is the better than the one you had. So be humble and accept that other people come up with good stuff.
Absolutely. And that